crossing the Great Qin Dynasty, merging with the ancestors of zombies and becoming the ninth son of the first emperor, winning the Green Palace. Due to the frequent occurrence of celestial evils and strange phenomena at birth, the Yin Yang family calculated it as the reincarnation of the lonely evil star, which is considered ominous. In order to preserve the land of the Great Qin, Zheng had to send it to the imperial tomb and use the aura of Xiaoxiong to suppress it. Gradually, the ninth prince of the Great Qin was forgotten by the world. However, until one day, the Xiongnu are invading the border, and foreign tribes are heading south. In addition, with the uprisings launched by various schools of thought and the remnants of the 6 countries, the situation of the empire was suddenly dangerous and worrying. After learning about it, the Yingqin Palace located in the imperial tomb. With one command, thousands of corpses and horses leave the imperial tomb. Save the empire from fire and water. Yingqin Hall. I alone will rule for eternity and guard for eternity. Keywords of the novel. Great Qin. Embodied generals, casting Immortal Corpse Dynasty no pop-ups, Great Qin. Embodied generals, casting Immortal Corpse Dynasty complete collection download TXT, Great Qin. Embodied generals, casting Immortal Corpse Dynasty latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Send to the Imperial Tomb and become a general. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Send to the Imperial Tomb and become a general. Kyushu Continent, Great Qin Empire. Since the beginning of the emperor's sweeping of Liuhe, together with the world. Today's Xianyang is already towering and magnificent. Known as the #1 city in the world. And this unprecedented empire only exists for one person, who is Zheng. However, it is now the 36th year of emperorship. There is less than a year left until the sand dunes where he passed away on the East Tour Road. Qinling Mountains, Lishan Mountains. This is known as the Great Qin Dragon Vein. I don't know if it's due to the influence of the imperial tomb or heaven and earth. This place is shrouded in Yin Qi all year round, making it a truly Yin Sha place. At the same time, within the imperial tomb, on a black-brown coffin board, sat a carefree and unrestrained figure. Its body is surrounded by strange luster flowing around it. After a moment, all these glosses entered the body and eventually turned into a cloud of air that settled in the Dantian area. Then, the man opened his starry eyes and slowly exhaled a murky breath. The air in front of me suddenly rustled, as if it had corroded me. Finally, it became stiff and stiff. The man stood up, moving his muscles and bones, and murmured to himself. If anyone else hears this here, they will definitely be shocked. Originally, the man's name was Yingqin Palace and he was the 9th prince of the Great Qin Dynasty. Just because it was before birth. Heavenly evil winds and clouds, and strange phenomena arise frequently. 10,000 demons howl, and 100 ghosts roam at night. Later, due to the Yin Yang family's performance, he was reincarnated as a lone demon star and cursed. Not only is it seen as an ominous omen, but it is also determined that one will not live to be 10 years old. Subsequently, the Yin Yang family warned Zheng not to keep this son. Otherwise, the Great Qin will be destroyed by this son. Anyway, the Yingqin Palace is his own flesh and blood. As the saying goes, tigers do not eat their offspring. How can Zheng take action? But in order to preserve our own country and land. After 3 days and 3 nights of ideological struggle, Zheng made a painful decision to send the Yingqin Palace to the Lishan Imperial Mausoleum. Use the Xiaoxiong Qi from the Imperial Tomb to suppress the Yingqin Palace. Fortunately, 10 years have passed. It's already the 18th year now. The Qin is still in peace. Except for Zheng, whose health is not as good as before, nothing unusual has happened. The Yingqin Hall inside the Imperial Tomb has gradually been forgotten by outsiders. Because in the perception of everyone outside, Yingqin Palace had already died under the curse 8 years ago. However, no one knows. Not only did Qin not die, but now it has also crossed the sky and become a flying zombie. That's right. 18 years ago. On the third day after he was sent to the Imperial tomb, the zombie ancestor system was activated. And merged to become the ancestor of zombies. General. It is precisely through the body of zombies. The Qin palace has survived to this day. In the past, there was actually no type of zombie in the world. This can still be traced back to the earliest times. Zombies actually evolved from a fierce beast. At the beginning of ancient times, humans and gods coexisted in heaven and earth. Endless savage beasts roam rampant, crazily slaughtering living beings and people, and among these beasts, there is one named. This beast has a fierce nature and was a fierce god that no one dared to provoke in ancient times. The first zombie in the world evolved from me. It is said that in ancient times, the emperor once asked a great deity for a huge branch of a divine tree. After being sealed, the branches of the divine tree came into contact with the body of the dragon and slowly merged into its body, becoming a new life form that occupied its body. This is the zombie king general. After the generals, there was a group of zombies scattered throughout the heavens and all realms. Copper-headed and iron-armed, impervious to knives and guns, over 10 meters long, with eyes shining brightly, and eating fierce beasts, sand and stones. That's what the zombie ancestor generals are talking about. And zombies are further divided into purple zombies, green zombies, white zombies, fur zombies, flying zombies, and non-transforming zombies, among which non-transforming zombies are also known as the Zombie King. It is said that the ultimate strength of the generals will still be above invincibility. But currently, the Qin palace has just broken through the flying deadlock. Even if there is still a realm above, it is something he cannot touch temporarily. And the strength of zombies is also easy to distinguish. Purple zombies are the most common and ordinary zombies, with slow movements and a fear of sunlight. So, the purple zombie corresponds to the acquired master. The jumping speed of the green zombie is extremely fast, and its pupils and body emit green corpse light. It can even defeat 10 enemies with one. Equivalent to innate experts. The white zombie has initially mastered the power of zombies and is now fearless of sunlight. It can appear during the day and has the ability to withstand one enemy with 100 abilities. Corresponding to the master and expert. Further up. Mao Nuan is completely different. Not only does it possess spiritual intelligence, but it also has infinite strength. Its body is as hard as iron, and ordinary swords are difficult to break through. It can kill thousands of soldiers alone. He is the great master of humanity. And Flying Stiff is also capable of using some unconventional techniques. And it can control the flight of corpse gas, making it difficult for ordinary people to be injured. The Qin palace has just broken through from a Mao zombie to a flying zombie. There is almost no difference between heaven and humanity. And now the whole world. There are only a few strong beings in the realm of heaven and humanity. Who would have thought that the 9th prince of the Great Qin, who was once abandoned by the world, has now become a heavenly person? As for the final zombie king, he doesn't melt bones. You can wander between heaven and earth, freely entering and exiting the Yin and Yang realms. Moving mountains and pouring seas, turning clouds and rain. Immortal and incorruptible, omnipotent. Only land immortals among humans can achieve this. This is truly a great divine power. Of course, besides these zombies, there are also some special alien zombies. These were all created by Qin during the past 18 years when there was nothing to do. What bronze-armored corpses, silver-armored corpses, golden-armored corpses, fire-spirit corpses, poisonous goo corpses, and so on. Although these zombies have no spiritual intelligence, if placed outside, they are also a group of terrifying beings. System, open the data panel. Qin silently recited in his heart. Shua. A virtual data panel suddenly emerged. Host. Yingqin Palace, identity. Ancestor of zombies, practice. Blood stasis resolve, exquisite, strength. Flying zombie, lifespan. Unknown. Treasure. Currently unavailable, already owned subordinate. 5 tiger generals, zombie, possessing a large army of zombies. 50,000 copper armored corpse, 20,000 silver armored corpse, 5,000 gold armored corpse, 3,000 fire spirit corpse, and 3,000 poisonous goo corpse, zombie value. 30,000, look at your own data panel. The corner of Yingqin Palace's mouth slightly rises. Over the years, he has accumulated almost 100,000 zombie armies under his command. There are countless types, spread throughout the entire Li Mountain. But this is not what he is most proud of. The most satisfying thing for Yingqin Palace is undoubtedly the stiffness on the 5 tigers. He redeemed the body of General Wu Hu from the system. Then used blood zombie to refine them one by one into zombies. Everyone has the strength of Mount Wan. They each lead 100,000 army in the Imperial tomb of Mount Li. As long as there is any slight disturbance, the Yingqin Palace will immediately learn. And General 5 Tigers and this army of 100,000 zombies are all thanks to their zombie value. Zombie value can be exchanged for what one wants in the system all. Currently, the premise is that zombies are worth enough. And the copper armor, gold armor, and poisonous goo required for refining zombies such as copper armored corpses, gold armored corpses, and poisonous goo corpses are all exchanged by Yingqin Palace from the system mall. There are currently only 2 ways to obtain zombie values. One, that the system automatically gives away 100 points every day. 2, obtained by completing system tasks. Nowadays, these 30,000 yuan have taken a long time to accumulate as the flower of the winning Green Palace. He won't use it easily unless absolutely necessary. Continuing. Yingqin Hall, sitting on the coffin board, stretched lazily with a contented expression on his face. He calculated and whispered eagerly, there are still 33 days to go until the end of life, which is 9981. Once the ultimate destiny is fulfilled, then you can go to the outside world. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Guanyu's Rebellion, Choose to Take Action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Guanyu's Rebellion, Choose to Take Action. Xianyang, Imperial Palace. Qilin Hall. In the early court, countless courtiers were arranged in 2 rows. On the right are a group of literary officials including Prime Minister Li Si and Meng Yi. On the left, there are generals such as Marquis of Wuwang Ben and Meng Tian. At the same time, the courtiers remained silent, silently gazing at the upper part of the court. On the dragon chair directly above the hall, a figure was sitting upright, dressed in a black and gold king's robe, with 12 strands of red and jade crowns on his head. Her face is like a crown of jade, and her temples are like a knife cut. The eyebrows are as sharp as the sword's edge, showing a sharp and fierce aura. Even if you don't feel it with your heart, you can still feel a majestic and domineering imperial aura that doesn't anger you. A pair of majestic sword eyes, constantly flickering with sword light that makes people dare not look directly at. At first glance, one's heart is filled with a sense of submission. A wave of imperial power arises naturally. And he is the king of the present-day Great Qin Empire. Also the eternal emperor of the future. Qin Shi Huang. Ying Zheng. However, at this moment, his face is not very good looking. 300 people, how could they not even catch a Guanyu? A bunch of trash. Schwa. As soon as this sentence is spoken, the ministers below couldn't help but tremble fiercely. They haven't seen His Majesty so angry for a long time. Obviously, I was really angry this time. As the saying goes, when an emperor is angry, he will lay 1,000,000 corpses. They can't imagine the consequences of Zheng getting angry. Father, calm down. Just when the ministers dared not stand out, the eldest son Fusu stood up. He said humbly, that Guanyu has been seriously injured, but he is just at the end of a strong crossbow. I believe it won't be long before he can be arrested and brought back. The surrounding ministers nodded in agreement upon hearing these words. At the same time, he cast a grateful glance at Fusu. After all, at this moment, daring to speak up for them is undoubtedly preparing to withstand Zheng's anger. This courage alone is worthy of their gratitude. Actually, Fusu doesn't care about them. Mainly to help Meng Tian. After all, Meng Tian was responsible for the main task of capturing Guanyu this time. Nowadays, not only did they fail, but they also lost 300 Qin soldiers. This is undoubtedly a fierce blow to his Daqin's face. If this crime is punished, even if Meng Tian is a superior general, he may not be immune to it. Upon hearing this, Zheng gave a cold glance with Long's eyes. My eyes are filled with hatred that iron cannot turn into steel. If I were among many princes this time. Whenever there is one who can stand up. I'm afraid things won't end up in such a field. This is also the reason why he has not yet established a crown prince. It's not that he doesn't want to stand up, but so far there hasn't been one that caught his eye. If you really want to draw a general among the dwarves. Perhaps only Fusu could barely catch his eye with Zheng. However, Fusu advocates Confucianism and Taoism, and is deeply influenced by Confucianism. Perhaps Fusu could become a good emperor with excellent quality. But what Zheng needs is not such an emperor. But rather an emperor who can take over the empire from him and lead it further. Think of it here. Zheng couldn't help but sigh. Sigh. If the temple is still here, it should be more than that, right? He suddenly couldn't help but think of the child he had sent to the Imperial tomb 18 years ago. Over the years, he has actually been very guilty in his heart. Even when Ying was just born. He doesn't believe in the calculations of the Yin Yang family. But with the emergence of anomalies and natural disasters, resulting in him having to believe in the end. In order to preserve the country, it can only be sent to the imperial tomb. Zheng also knew that he would be sent to the brink of death, but what could be done? It's impossible to give up the entire world in order to win the Qin palace, right? This is obviously not the style that he should have as the first emperor. Then, Zheng shook his head. What's the use of thinking about it now that things have come to this point, and so many years have passed? I'll give you 3 more days. Make sure to capture Gain back. Zheng spoke coldly, while his eyes cast a cold glance at the courtiers below. He doesn't want to waste time on a rebellious person. Time is extremely precious to Zheng. Your Majesty, rest assured. I will guarantee to capture and return Gain within 3 days. Meng Tian bowed, clasped his fists, and Zheng responded. Step back. With a big wave of Zheng's hand. Then he left towards the back of the hall in front of the courtiers. Farewell to your Majesty. The courtiers all bowed together. They quickly dispersed separately. Within the imperial tomb. Ah, sneeze. Qin Hall rubbed his nose. Which dog is talking about me behind my back? He muttered to himself. I just sneezed 3 times in a row. If no one talks about him behind his back, I won't believe him even if I die. Next up. At this moment. A figure wearing a silver-white battle armor walked in from outside the imperial tomb. Master, we have checked everything thoroughly. As soon as the figure entered, she spoke up. How about it? Qin Palace showed confusion. The person sent by Zheng to pursue Meng Tian is named Guanyu. Guanyu. Upon hearing these 2 words, the corner of Qin Palace's mouth couldn't help but slowly rise. He remembers clearly. When he was born, heaven and earth were influenced by him to give birth to a strange phenomenon, and it was ultimately the hands of this Gainier who personally suppressed him. Ding, Gainier defects, the plot begins. System task release. It's not too late for a gentleman to seek revenge in 10 years. Gainier is no longer subordinate to the Great Qin, but a rebel of the Great Qin. Please take action and bring him to justice to show the glory and authority of the 9th Prince of the Great Qin. Task reward. Full-level Golden Light Curse, Crouching Dragon. Zhuge Wuho, Corpse, Zombie Value X 5000, watching the sudden system task, Yingqing Palace was slightly stunned. The next moment, he suddenly became more relaxed. I originally had no intention of taking action. But since it's a coincidence that such a task has come, I have no choice but to let my subordinates move their muscles and bones. Zilong, immediately lead 10,000 bronze-armored corpses to deal with Gainier. The Yingqing Palace gave orders to the figure in front of him with a silver-white battle armor. This person is Zhao Yun, one of the 5 tiger generals, zombies. Yes, my lord. After speaking, Zhao Yun immediately retreated. Watching Zhao Zilong's departure, Yingqing Palace squinted slightly. Dealing with a Gainier, 10,000 bronze-armored corpses is actually a bit overkill. But Yingqing Palace has other plans this time. To be precise, it is planning for oneself to leave this imperial tomb soon. Next up. Yingqing Palace turned around and walked towards the depths of the imperial tomb. There was a strangely shaped coffin placed, with green ghostly flames burning underneath. Uncharted and eerie. Bang, as Yingqing Hall exhaled a breath of corpse gas towards the bottom of the coffin. Time flies. The raging ghost fire is even more powerful by 3 points. After a whole stick of incense, the ghost fire gradually extinguished. It's done. The corner of Yingqing Palace's mouth lifted, revealing a hint of joy. This coffin contains the new corpse species he has refined. Ghost shadows and corpses. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Bronze Armor Corpse reveals, Lone Dare Zhao Yun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Bronze Armor Corpse reveals, Lone Dare Zhao Yun. Outside Xianyang City. Guanyu Valley. A white figure with a sword is walking towards the valley with a child. Every step is like walking on thin ice. From his figure and demeanor, it can be seen that he has been seriously injured. And behind the two of them, a group of black-armored Qin soldiers are closely following. The leader is General Meng Tian. He did not organize a team to launch an attack, but led the army to hang at a distance of 200 meters from the two Gainiers. Having learned the painful lesson from the previous time, he learned to be clever this time. I plan to wait until all of Gain's strength is exhausted before leading the team up. After all, he promised Ying Zheng. Within 3 days, Gainier will be captured and taken back. He doesn't believe that Gainier, who looks like him now, can still hold on for 3 days. Uncle, should we take a break? The child held Gain's hand and asked with a worried expression. Upon hearing this, Gainier stopped and looked back. Let's talk first. He knows that if he stops here to rest, I'm afraid in no time, the two of them will be taken down by the group of Qin soldiers not far away. So the only way is to enter the valley and see if there is a suitable opportunity to shake off the Qin army. Shua. But just as they stepped into the valley, the scene before him made Gainier's body tremble, and a hint of horror flashed quickly in his eyes. A figure wearing a silver-white battle armor, carrying a long spear, was slowly walking towards the two of them from not far ahead. Who are you? He spoke in a cold voice and shook hands tightly with Yuanhong. Step on step, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed throughout the entire valley. The long gun rubbed against the ground, emitting bursts of flames. At the same time, an invisible pressure shrouded in the direction where Gain was located. Great Master. After feeling the pressure, Guanyu's expression gradually became solemn. If the other party is sent by the Empire, it can be a bit tricky. But fortunately, this possibility is unlikely. Because he has never seen this person before. Shua. But the next moment, Zhao Yun directly pointed his gentian bright silver spear at Guanyu. Guanyu, what are your last words? Zhao Yun spoke coldly without any emotion. He had an indifferent expression, just like a cold machine announcing the end of Gain's life. Coincidentally, this scene was caught by Meng Tian and his group who were leading the army into the valley. After feeling this pressure, Meng Tian's face also suddenly changed. This kind of pressure is the most special presence that Meng Tian has ever felt. Different from ordinary great masters. This pressure is mixed with a bone-chilling frost and cold air. I can't help but feel an inexplicable fear in my heart. I have never met your excellency before. When did Guy provoke your excellency? Guanyu was puzzled and began to ask. Provoke. He, I can't talk about it. Zhao Yun sneered. But the Lord wants your life. So today, you have to die. Shua. As soon as this sentence is spoken. With a loud bang. Suddenly, dense figures emerged from underground around the valley. Wearing bronze armor one by one, their skin was pale and devoid of any color. A large quantity instantly covers the valley. A sudden scene. Let both Guanyu and Meng Tian's hearts tremble. A thought arises in my heart at the same time. What kind of ghost is this? They had never seen such a strange way of appearing from underground before. At present, Meng Tian immediately shouted loudly, all on guard. But Zhao Yun didn't pay attention to them at all. The Lord's command is only for Guanyu. As for others, as long as it doesn't affect him, it's okay. Tianming, come behind me. Guanyu escorted the child beside him behind him. He knew it would be a tough battle. Because the other party is clearly coming towards him. Looking around at the densely packed figures of copper armor, Guanyu hesitated a bit. He may still be able to struggle with 300 people. But there are more than 300 people in front of me. Guanyu, give you a chance to make a decision on your own. At this moment, Zhao Yun spoke again. The tone was full of teasing. Guy's life, you can't take it away. Guanyu's words fell. The whole person's aura suddenly changed. Almost in an instant, it became incredibly sharp and sharp. Even around it, a sword energy field was formed. Upon seeing this, Zhao Yun put away his smile and his pupils became sharp. Up. With a single command. The copper-armored corpses in the valley immediately rushed towards Gain like locusts passing through. Meng Tian watched this scene from afar. His face and pupils were filled with shock. He served in the army of the Great Qin for decades. But I have never seen such an army before. Shua. Suddenly, Meng Tian thought of something. Could it be that foreign tribes from the border secretly infiltrated the Central Plains? And this legion in front of us is from a different ethnic group on the border. But upon careful consideration, it's completely wrong again. Even if foreign ethnic groups from the border have entered the Central Plains, their target cannot be Guanyu. Meng Tian was confused. He was bewildered by the strange army in front of him. At the same time, as the copper-armored corpse launched an attack on Gain, Guanyu gradually realized that these guys in front of him were not human at all. One by one, they looked more like walking corpses dressed in bronze armor. Even with a single sword, he chopped off his head and still couldn't see a drop of blood. Guanyu was horrified in his heart. He knew that a strange force had already infiltrated the territory of the Qin. Otherwise, why did that guy just say, by the Lord's command? Zhao Yun held a bright silver spear and gazed quietly at Guanyu. Seeing that the bronze armor corpse could not cause any damage to him, he immediately prepared to personally take it down. Everyone stepped back. Shua! With a loud shout from Zhao Yun. The copper armor corpses around Guanyu's body faded away like a tide. Next up. Zhao Yun leaped forward, holding a bright silver spear and carrying an unparalleled destructive force, descending from the sky towards Guanyu. Upon seeing this, Guanyu quickly activated the true qi in his body. This made him blush and a hint of blood gushed from the corners of his mouth. The internal injury itself is not mild. Now we have to deal with a great master. This makes game feel incredibly difficult. Chang. A shot fell, and Guanyu raised his sword to resist. Boom. A torrential force of terror swept out from the barrel of the gun. Guanyu's body shook and he suddenly knelt down on one knee. The fresh blood in the mouth is even sprayed out directly. Uncle. Watching this scene, Tianming looked worried on the side. Guanyu looked up at Zhao Yun. In the moment of gazing at it, his body couldn't help but tremble again. Are you not human? He could only see a dead silence in the other person's pupils. Even the pupils are grayish-white, without any luster. Only dead people have such pupils. Shua. Guanyu quickly parted ways with him. Zhao Yun grinned as he saw the situation. I'll tell you when you're dead. He joked and said. Guanyu's expression was solemn, and his brain was spinning rapidly. The current situation has completely exceeded his expectations. I thought I could barely fight against one. From today's perspective. Obviously, it's a foolish dream. My body has reached its limit, relying only on a trace of mental support. In this way, whether or not to escape is no longer important. I want to live. I'm afraid we can only use our final strength to unleash that ultimate sword. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Yuanhong sword broken, Guanyu's man died. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Yuanhong sword broken, Guanyu's man died. Zhao Yun held a bright silver spear and looked at Guanyu with a hint of contempt. Surrounded by the copper-armored corpses he led, even if Guanyu had wings today, he couldn't escape. And Guanyu stared at Zhao Yun with a deep gaze. He was also aware that he was now forced to retreat and had no choice but to do so. The next moment, I saw Guanyu lift up Yuanhong in his hand and point directly at Zhao Yun. Suddenly, a sharp sword energy converged from invisibly. Just this action even caused a change in the overall battlefield momentum. Seeing this from afar, Meng Tian couldn't help but shake his heart hard. Is this sword still coming after all? He has been marching and fighting for many years, claiming to have seen countless types of troops, but he has never seen a strange army dressed in copper armor like today. Moreover, he stayed in Daqin for so long. For the man in the silver armor and white robe in front of me, I have never met him before. Such a general, an army, seemed to suddenly appear without warning. Let him fall off guard, without any defense. And he also knows the reputation of Guanyu as the world's top swordsman. Even if seriously injured, it is still not something that ordinary people can withstand. Otherwise, why hasn't he started yet? It is precisely the last sword that fears Guanyu. But the man in silver armor and white robe in front of me. Obviously, it has already pushed Gain to the brink of despair. Next. He just needs to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight. Because if you rashly lead your troops to join the battlefield now, it will be a death sentence. On the contrary, it's possible to still benefit from it. But at this moment, Guanyu took the lead. He understood that he must take the initiative in his own hands. Shua. The white figure instantly disappeared in place, leaving a trail of shadows attacking Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun grinned as he saw the situation. As soon as Xian was about to wield the bright silver spear of the gentian in his hand, dust flew everywhere. The whole person also moves with the flow. At the same time, two completely different forces were released from the weapons in their hands. One is the sharp sword energy, while the other is the destructive and domineering gun wind. Boom! With a loud bang, two forces collided. The next moment, Guanyu's expression changed, and his lips and teeth lit up lightly. The 100-step flying sword. Shua! I saw Yuanhong instantly release her hand and turn into a stream of light rushing towards Zhao, containing a terrifying and murderous aura. Upon seeing this scene, Zhao still had a mischievous expression on his face. As if he didn't take it seriously at all. Boom! Zhao exerted force on both knees and suddenly charged forward. At the same time, the gentian bright silver spear also took the opportunity to thrust out along with the body. A cold light flashed from the tip of the gun. Next up, a silver dragon emerged from the barrel of the gun, spiraling out in a winding and swirling manner. After throwing this sword, a burst of blood spurted out of his mouth. His body is now in a state of exhaustion. Has completely lost its combat effectiveness. And the opponent's shot was no weaker than their own 100-step flying sword. As expected. The moment when one's own Yuanhong collides with the silver-white dragon transformed by the opponent's spear. The outcome will be determined. The terrifying destruction produced by the collision of the two caused some nearby copper-armored corpses to instantly turn into annihilation. Click. However, in the next moment, a crisp sound came from within. Although the sound was not loud, everyone on the stage heard it. Roar. With a stunning roar from the silver-long dragon, Yuanhong was completely engulfed. How could it be? Meng Tian in the distance stared wide-eyed at the scene, his face full of disbelief. The 100-step flying sword is a move that frightens countless heroes and heroes in the world. But today, surprisingly lost. Even Yuanhong couldn't escape the disaster. That's the second best sword in the world. Second only to His Majesty the First Emperor, Tianwen. Zhao reached out and sucked, and the dragon gallbladder silver spear flew back into his hand. On the ground, scattered piles of debris fell. The fragment was the Yuanhong, which was directly destroyed in the huge impact just now. What other moves do you have? Just use it. Zhao Yunxiang pointed at Guanyu with a majestic aura. When Guanyu saw that he had lost, he knew that there was no chance to leave today. Immediately, I looked towards Meng Tian in the distance. General Meng, he came for Guy. Please take the child back and inform His Majesty that from now on, the child will change his surname to Ying. At the same time as saying this sentence, it also represents that he failed to fulfill the instructions of his close friend before his death. But he has done his best. Meng Tian was slightly taken aback at the words. Although he understands what Guanyu means, he dare not act rashly. The other party is even stronger than Gain. And there were countless armies dressed in bronze armor staring around. Shua. At this moment, Zhao Yun's figure flashed and he approached Guanyu. He disdains sneak attacks. So, Zhao Yun wants to take down his head in front of Guanyu. May I ask Guy to know who sent you before he dies? Before his death, Guanyu asked a question. Zhao Yun was slightly stunned for a moment, and then his lips and teeth opened lightly, spitting out 3 words. Although there was no sound, Guanyu's body suddenly trembled. The pupils contracted sharply, revealing deep shock. However, after a moment, all the frightened expressions faded away, and a faint smile appeared on the face. The future of Duchin is promising. After Guanyu said these words, he closed his eyes and prepared to die. Zhao Yun saw this and swept his spear towards the opponent's neck. Shua. A cold light flashed by. Guanyu's head flew high. Separation of human heads. A generation of swordsmen, from now on, they have fallen. Continuing. Zhao Yun asked a bronze-armored corpse to lift Guanyu's head. Once the task is completed, it's natural to leave. And Meng Tian in the distance dared not move at all. I can only watch helplessly as Guanyu is killed. But it is indeed as Gain said. The other party's goal is only gain. There is no intention of taking action against him. Retreat. With a loud roar from Zhao Yun. Boom. Countless bronze-armored corpses sank into the ground and disappeared. And Zhao Yun rode on his own Zhaoye jade lion. Before leaving, I turned around and glanced at Meng Tian. Meng Tian happened to gaze at it. Shua. His face suddenly turned pale. A deep sense of fear arises from within. Just one glance. Its oppression is like being targeted by death. Finally. As Zhao Yun's figure disappeared into the sky. The sense of oppression disappears. Meng Tian felt relieved and finally breathed a sigh of relief. For a while. He just regained his senses. Immediately ordered the generals to take the child with them. At the same time, he silently recited in his heart. This matter must be informed to your majesty immediately, there is no delay. A group of people immediately mounted their warhorses and rushed toward Xianyang. Lishan. Imperial Mausoleum. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, receive task rewards. Full-level golden light curse, crouching dragon. Zhuge Wuho, corpse, zombie value x 5000, as the system sounds. A hint of surprise flashed in Yingqing Palace's eyes. Was it completed so quickly? Undoubtedly, he is the Changshan Zhao Zilong who enters and exits Changban Slope 7 times. He never worries anyone when he does things. As expected. In no time. I saw Zhao Yun carrying Guanyu's head to the Imperial tomb. Naturally, the Yingqing Palace also praised Zhao Yun. After all, this represents his first battle. It was completed so crisply and neatly. He was very satisfied. But on the other side. It's not peaceful anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Refining Wolong, Anger of Ying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Refining Wolong, Ying's Fury. Xianyang. Qilin Hall. Ying, as usual, tirelessly handled the court affairs. Suddenly at this moment. The eunuch outside the palace whispered, General Meng Tian, please meet me. Upon hearing this, Ying put down the bamboo slips in his hand and raised his dragon eyes to calmly say, Xian. In no time. Meng Tian, dressed in black armor, strode in with a heavy expression on his face. I will see your majesty at the end. Free of charge. Ying waved his hand. He was slightly surprised by Meng Tian's arrival. Did you catch Guanyu so quickly? Please punish your majesty. Shua. At the next moment, Meng Tian knelt directly on one knee. Punishment. Did you let Gain run away? Ying Zhenglong's eyebrows sank slightly. The only thing that can make Meng Tian like this is that Guanyu escaped. Kumengtian's next words. But it made his face suddenly change. Your majesty, then Gain is dead. Just. It's not what the last general did. Then, Meng Tian reported all the events that had happened. Are you saying that Gain died at the hands of someone you have never seen before? Ying took a slow breath. Clearly suppressing inner anger. Meng Tian saw this and immediately kowtowed his forehead. I will never neglect my duty. Please calm down, your majesty. Although Ying was shocked by the mysterious army described by Meng Tian, he was even more angry. Because on their own territory, such a mysterious army has emerged. But he was completely unaware. What does Zhuge do to eat? What do these generals in the court eat for? One by one, they know how to hold the court for worship. But there was no action at all. One day, when the enemy holds the knife holder around his neck, I'm afraid these people won't even know. Go, notify everyone and enter the palace immediately. If there are those who cannot be reached, they will be beheaded directly. Zheng spoke sternly, with an unquestionable tone. Meng Tian trembled fiercely at the words. This is the prelude to the storm. He can do nothing but obey orders now. To be precise, I dare not do it. At this time, going against Zheng is like starting a rebellion on Tai Sui's head. Unless you really have enough to live. Yes. Meng Tian immediately retreated. Until Meng Tian leaves. Zheng looked at the bamboo slip in his hand. Bang! With a sudden tap. His mind is no longer focused on bamboo slips. In the Imperial tomb. With a gesture from Yingqing Hall, a corpse holding a feather fan appeared out of thin air. Even though it was a corpse, there were still waves of auspicious light emanating from its body. From this, it can be seen that the body must have been different from the mortal search before its death. Zhuge Wuho, known as Wolong, is the world's top strategist. Looking at the corpse, the corner of Yingqing Palace's mouth slightly raised. Now that he has a general under his command, he still needs a strategist. This Zhuge Wuho has filled the vacancy. Since that's the case, let me resurrect you. Say it. The Yingqing Palace directly threw Zhuge Liang's body into the dark black coffin in front of him. Who? Yingqing Palace opened its mouth and spat out a faint green ghostly fire. In the next moment, suddenly, many eerie green patterns lit up on the surface of the coffin. ZZ next up. A sizzling sound came from inside the entire coffin. Ignite the corpse fire. This is just the first step to resurrect the corpse. And this fire is only possessed by the Yingqing Palace. It's the Yin fire inside the ancestor of zombies. Next. It is necessary to use one's own essence and blood, and then use Yin fire to refine it and integrate it into the corpse, thus playing a role in reviving the dead. In fact, there are other ways to revive the Yingqing Palace. But the resurrected one is far less powerful than this. General Wu Hu, zombie, was resurrected by him using this method. As soon as they are resurrected, everyone has the strength of Mao Wan. Of course, when refining ordinary zombies, the Yingqing Palace does not feed them with its own essence and blood. After all, not everyone can get his essence and blood. After finishing everything. Next, just wait. When the essence and blood are completely absorbed, that is when Zhuge Wuho is resurrected. Yin Yang. Outside the palace. Countless figures are rushing towards the Qilin Hall. Their faces were incredibly solemn. Since ancient times, they have never received any news of going to court during this time period. And today, this precedent has been broken. They vaguely guessed in their hearts that something big would happen. But what kind of big deal is it? Can your Majesty inform them to go to court at this time? In no time. All the courtiers arrived at the Qilin Hall. But at this moment, there is no one above the main hall. And below, the courtiers also began to whisper. Your Majesty suddenly summoned us. Do you know what happened? I don't know. I don't know. The courtiers shook their heads. They also looked confused. The only major event that happened recently was none other than the defection of Gain. Besides that, nothing major happened. But hasn't your Majesty already sent General Meng Tianmeng to arrest him? Wait. At the moment when a minister was analyzing. He suddenly turned his head and looked to the side. General Meng, why did you come back instead of arresting Guanyu? Can it be that you have already taken Guanyu, General? As soon as this sentence is spoken, all the courtiers in the court finally noticed Meng Tian. Before that, none of them had noticed him. Upon hearing this, Meng Tian stubbornly didn't hold back a word. Because he doesn't know how to say it. But at this moment, The eunuch above the main hall shouted, "Your Majesty is here." Then, Zheng, dressed in a black dragon robe, walked out from behind and sat on the dragon chair in front of the courtiers. "Ladies and gentlemen, see your Majesty," the courtiers bowed and said in unison. "No need." Zheng waved his hand, his tone filled with anger. This couldn't help but make the courtiers below tremble in their hearts. "I can't help but wonder who has angered your Majesty." To be honest, they rarely see such an angry expression on Zheng's face. "Meng Tian, tell them the situation truthfully." At the next moment, Zheng spoke sharply and was too lazy to talk nonsense. "The purpose of convening this court meeting today is to impeach these court ministers." However, when Meng Tian recounted the process of capturing Guanyu in detail, the courtiers were like falling into an ice cave, instantly understanding why His Majesty summoned them at this time. "Pop it. Pop it." One by one, the high-ranking officials in the court knelt down. Among them were Prince Ben of Tungwu, Commander Zhang Han of the Secret Guard, Langs Hongling and Wei Wei of the 9 ministers, and even Prime Minister Li Si who knelt down. At the same time, everyone also understood why His Majesty was so angry today. Within the territory of Qin, such a mysterious army has emerged, which is no different from beating the face of Qin, and even more so, beating the faces of these important officials. "May your Majesty calm down." Li Si spoke first. "The depth of this army's concealment is by no means accidental. I hope your Majesty can give me some time to thoroughly investigate and uncover the truth." Tungwu Marquis Wang Ben quickly spoke up. Looking at these two leaders of civil and military officials, Zheng just gave an indifferent glance. Now Gain's death is completely unimportant. The important thing is, where exactly is the mysterious army mentioned by Meng Tian hidden? Surprisingly, he was able to perfectly avoid the sight of countless elite soldiers in the Great Qin Dynasty and survive in the cracks, leaving them unaware. From this, one can infer a point. That is the leader behind this mysterious army, who must be very familiar with the Great Qin. Otherwise, there won't be any mistakes. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Zhuge's corpse rises, all sides rush. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Zhuge's corpse rises, all sides rush. Imperial Mausoleum. When the green flame below the coffin goes out, a dark wind suddenly blew from all directions. In the depths of the Imperial tomb, there was a mournful cry like a fierce ghost. It's chilling. But at this moment, Qin Palace walked forward, holding the coffin lid with one hand and suddenly joined forces. Boom! The huge coffin lid was lifted by him with one hand. Then a green corpse aura emerged. Shwa! Then, a figure stood up from within. At the same time, a cold voice emanated from it. "Liang, see Lord. Wait until the corpse chi dissipates." Zhuge Liang emerged completely. A data panel related to Zhuge Liang emerged. Zombie. Zhuge Liang, identity. Marquis of Wu, host. Qin Palace, loyalty. 100%, strength. Mao Nuan, weapon. White feather fan. It seems that even with the fusion of my essence and blood, I can only stop at Mao Ji. Looking at Zhuge Liang's data, Qin Palace murmured to itself. But if this is spread out, it can definitely cause anger among people and gods. Mao Nuan represents a great master among humans. Even the renowned Gigu Zongheng and Zongheng are great masters. From now on, you will be my advisor. Qin Hall looked at Zhuge Liang. There is such a military commander sitting at the helm. What else is he worried about? Even the whole world can come to him. Kong Ming is willing to go through fire and water as his lord, at all costs. Zhuge Liang stepped out of the coffin and then knelt on one knee towards the Qin Hall. Very good. Qin Dian nodded in satisfaction. Then, an idea fell through. In no time, the 5 tiger generals who were guarding various parts of Mount Li came to the imperial tomb. But when they saw Zhuge, their expressions were all slightly shaken. A surprised expression immediately appeared. Kong Ming, do you remember them? Upon hearing these words, Zhuge immediately turned his gaze to the 5 of them. The next moment, he couldn't help but stare. You 5. He looked at the 5 people in front of him. Isn't it just my former comrade in arms? Yingqing Palace smiled slightly. Once all 6 people belonged to Shu Han. And they all worked together as one person. But now, the master of the 6 people working together has changed from Liu Bei to his Yingqing Hall. The Yingqing Palace does not have the hypocrisy of Liu Bei. 6 people were all resurrected in his hands. Loyalty is even 100%. Even if the Yingqing Palace asks the 6 people to die immediately, they will not hesitate for a moment. Continuing. Yingqing Palace gave them some time to meet. At the same time, it also allowed General Xiaoxiong of the 5 tigers to teach Zhuge how to familiarize himself with his current body. After all, he is no longer an ordinary person. Imperial Palace. Qilin Hall. After receiving a baptism of anger from Zheng, all the courtiers in the court. Finally, Marquis Tungwu Wangben took the initiative to take over this matter in person. The origin of this mysterious army is now mainly investigated by him. Of course, the others won't be idle either. Do everything possible to inquire about this mysterious army. As for Guanyu, Meng Tian witnessed with his own eyes that he was beheaded by an owl. This can't be fake, can it? Even if Gain is not dead, it can only be known after discovering this mysterious army. The whole thing is like a mystery. Now, if Zheng wants to solve this mystery, he can only find that mysterious army. Continuing. Zheng stood up and left a sentence of extreme dissatisfaction. I'll give you 3 days. If we can't find any clues in 3 days, you guys bring your heads up to see me. After speaking, he turned around and left. Only a group of exceptionally ugly courtiers remained. 3 days, this is giving them a death order. Wang Ben felt an incredibly heavy burden on his shoulders. There's no way, who made him the leader of the generals among all the officials. After everyone left the court and went down, they immediately activated all their own relationships. According to Meng Tian's description, start investigating everything about this mysterious army. As long as it is within the territory of Qin, there will always be times when chicken feet are exposed. Yin Yang family. Luo Xingtang. Dreaming of a veil and dressed in a purple robe, the moon god is reporting to the leader of the Yin Yang family, Dong Huangtai, the latest intelligence she has obtained from the palace today. So, a mysterious army appeared within the territory of Qin that even Zheng was unaware of. The deep and hoarse voice of Emperor Tai came from under his black robe. He was wrapped in a black robe all over his body. No one knows his strength, let alone his true face. Dark and mysterious, mysterious and unpredictable. Yes, Your Excellency the Eastern Emperor. The moon god nodded. When she heard this news in the palace today, she was also very shocked. Who is Zheng? The Emperor of the Great Qin, the co-ruler of the world. The only man who sweeps the 4 harmonies and unifies the world. Surprisingly, there is something on his territory that he doesn't know. Is this just a joke? Don't be idle during this time either. Also send someone to investigate thoroughly. Emperor Tai issued an order. However, the moon god is somewhat puzzled. What did Your Excellency Dong Huang ask you to find this mysterious army for? Aren't they cooperating with the empire? This mysterious army is not scary either, it's terrifying to see the people behind his army. Why don't you think carefully about what kind of person is capable of mastering such a large army? Dong Huangtai gave a faint glance. Shua. The moon god seemed to be enlightened in an instant. The moon god understands now. Well, go ahead. Emperor Donghuang nodded. The moon god bowed slightly and then left the Luosheng hall without looking back. After the moon god left, Emperor Donghuang looked up at the constellation map behind him. The quiet pupils under the black robe slowly twitched, and no one knew what he was thinking. With a movement of mind, leaving behind a gust of wind, its figure disappeared and disappeared. Zhao Mansion. After Zhao Gao returned from the palace, he kept thinking, what kind of army could make Meng Tian stop? Perhaps, if possible, Zhao Gao may still be able to use this opportunity to do something. After all, as these years have passed, the position of the commander-in-chief of the Zongzhu is no longer sufficient for him. His gaze was already drooling on the dragon chair in the palace court. Think of it here. Zhao Gao reached out and patted. Shua. 6 figures suddenly appeared out of thin air. These 6 people are the close swordsmen and 6 sword slaves who are always by his side. It is also one of his Zhao Gao's trumps. Lu Jiannu is the most powerful assassin in the trap organization, belonging to the King of Yu's 8 swords, and ranking first in the trap heaven category. Immediately lead a group of assassins to investigate the mysterious army outside Xianyang city. No matter what method you use, make sure to find out for me. Zhao Gao said sternly. The trap under his command is the world's top intelligence network. In one sentence, there is nothing that cannot be found by a trap. After all, there is a saying circulating in Luoyang. A web of heaven and earth, penetrating through every hole. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Full-level golden light, prove my divine power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Full-level golden light, prove my divine power. Late at night. The bright moon hangs high. On the top of Mount Li. The Yingqing Palace sits at the top of the mountain, with its eyes tightly closed. But at this moment, he is emitting bursts of golden light all over. This is exactly the full-level golden light curse in the reward. The mnemonic of the golden light mantra consists of 13 sections in total. Only by truly mastering it can the power of the golden light curse be fully unleashed. The full-level golden light curse in the system reward. This will allow the Yingqing Palace to obtain the complete golden light curse without the need for cultivation. It can be said that we have truly achieved one step to the sky. Next up. I saw Yingqing Hall's fingers twitching slightly, and his mouth murmuring softly, reciting the mnemonic. The Xuanzong of heaven and earth is the root of all energy. Guangxiu Yi Jie, prove my divine ability. Within and outside the 3 realms, only the way is supreme. The body has golden light, reflecting on my body. Seeing without seeing, hearing without hearing. Including heaven and earth, nurturing a group of people. Praised 10,000 times, and there is light in the body. 3 realms guards, welcomed by the 5 emperors. Worship to all gods, slaying thunder. Ghosts and demons lose their courage, and spirits and monsters perish. There is a thunderbolt inside, and the god of thunder is unknown. The cave is full of wisdom, and the 5 qi are soaring. The golden light appears quickly, covering my body. Boom. Just as the last word fell, I saw endless golden light burst out like a mountain flood from within the Yingqing Hall. Shining golden body, shining brightly. Not only was it surrounded by golden light, but even the pupils and hair of the Yingqing Palace turned golden. Shua. Yingqing Palace only feels that there is an endless power within its body at this moment. Endless, inexhaustible. At the same time, the 5 tiger generals guarding everywhere looked towards the mountaintop. His eyes were filled with a look of horror. They all felt a terrifying and deadly threat. But fortunately, after a moment, they felt the breath of the Yingqing Palace again. My heart finally relaxed. Otherwise, if foreign enemies invade, They still dare not determine whether it is their opponent. Come back later. On the mountaintop. Qin Hall raised his hand. With a muffled snort, suddenly exert force. Boom. Suddenly, a ball-shaped wave condensed by golden light shot out in an instant. I saw a golden light cluster falling towards a distant mountaintop. Bang. Boom boom. Almost in an instant. The mountaintop in the distance was flattened. Watching such immense power, Qin Palace couldn't help but smack its tongue. This full-level golden light curse is truly extraordinary. With another round of testing. Can be used in subsequent testing. But Qin Palace discovered something that surprised him. No matter how you use the golden light curse, my own consumption can be said to be negligible. It can even be said that there is no such thing. This made Qin Hall very curious. Not generally speaking. Is using the golden light curse also very costly for oneself? Why is it different when I get here? Is it because I am not human? Only this reason can barely explain. Immediately, Qin Dian shook his head. This is a good thing for him. After all, who doesn't want to have endless chakras? The skill thrown out casually is a super move. Just think about it, it's exciting. After all, the full-level golden light curse has reached the realm of being able to transform into all things. That is to say, as long as you are willing, Qin Palace can use golden light to transform everything in your mind. Continuing. Schwa. Hold your breath and concentrate, your breath sinks into the elixir field. Take all the golden light back into your body. A layer of fish belly white had already formed in the distant sky. The first afterglow of the morning is about to shine on the earth. It means he should also go back to the tomb. But Qin Palace believes it. It won't be long. The mysterious Yin Qi in one's own body will completely lift the seal. At that time, it will be the day he leaves the Imperial tomb. Time flies by rapidly. In the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. During this half-month period, Tungwu Marquis Wang Ben has found a lot of information about that mysterious army. As for others, there are also some clues to some extent. Imperial Palace. Qilin Hall. Your Majesty, I would rather believe that the mysterious army had already infiltrated the territory a few years ago, and then secretly nurtured its strength and prepared for planning. It could never have appeared in a short period of time. Wang Ben spoke of his own judgment. These days, he has investigated all the levels within the territory of Qin. No clues were found regarding the entry of a large number of people. From this, it can be inferred. This is an army that started preparing a few years ago or even longer. Lise, what do you think? Zheng glanced lightly at Li Si next to Wang Ben. I believe that it is almost impossible to cultivate such a large army in a few years without the support of national strength behind it. Nowadays, we can focus on investigating the remaining evils in the 6 countries. Maybe it can bring surprises. Listen to Lisa's analysis. Zheng nodded in agreement. Even Wang Ben couldn't help but nod his head. I think what Li Si said is very reasonable. Continuing. Li Si spoke again and said, the remaining sins of the 6 countries and the 100 schools of thought have always been a thorn in His Majesty's eye and a thorn in his flesh. And if they want to deal with us, it's impossible for them to rely solely on one side. So, they must be a nest of snakes and mice, and the remaining evils of the 6 kingdoms are distributed throughout the world, hiding in the dark, like the mice in the sewer. It is extremely difficult to catch them. I believe that Your Majesty can start with the 100 schools of thought. It has to be said that Lisa's words were like hitting the nail on the head. Directly explained the current precarious situation in the state of Qin. Listening to Li Si's words, Zheng's dragon eyes became increasingly bright. But then he asked, in your opinion, which of the 100 schools of thought should I first take action against? Mohist school. Li Si had a firm expression and a resolute tone. Mohist school. Upon hearing this, Zheng fell into contemplation. Indeed, in recent years, the Mohist school has become increasingly rampant. He even heard about it. The Mohist school built a Mohist government city within the territory of his Qin dynasty. The purpose is to provide housing for the homeless anti-Qin people in the world. Therefore, the Mohist organization city is also praised by these anti-Qin people as a paradise in the world and an extraterrestrial demon realm. Think of it here. Zheng couldn't help but feel a surge of anger rising in his heart. This approach is simply extremely reckless. He didn't even consider the laws of the Great Qin Dynasty, nor did he consider Zheng. Since that's the case, take advantage of this opportunity. Uproot these rebellious elements. Okay. According to what Li Si said. First, eliminate this Mohist school. After speaking, Zheng looked at Zhang Han on the side. He plans to involve Zhang Han in this plan. Although Zhang Han is the commander of the Shadow Guard. And the Shadow Guard is also his personal guard team of Zheng. But in order to win the Mohist school as quickly as possible, you can only use some big moves. After all, Shadow Guard, as its name suggests, is fast in action, decisive in killing, and follows closely like a god of death. Although they have a low official rank, they have great power in life and death. Moreover, they directly and only obey Zheng's orders. Therefore, it is called like maggots attached to bones, like a shadow accompanying oneself, like a ruler personally visiting. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Like maggots covering the bones, like shadows accompanying me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Like maggots covering the bones, like shadows accompanying me. Mohist school. Organ City. At this moment, the leaders of the Mohist school are gathered together. One of them, dressed in a black robe and wearing a bamboo hat, covered his figure tightly in the center of the lobby. This person is exactly the giant of the Mohist school, commonly known as the leader. However, at this moment, none of the leaders' faces are good-looking. Because just now, the giant told them bad news. The Qin Empire is about to take action against his Mohist school. This is not a good thing. This represents that the Mohist school is officially going to war with the Empire. Master, why did the Empire suddenly take action against my Mohist school? Gao Jianli was somewhat puzzled. At least in these years. His Mohist school has been acting in a low-key manner. I have never sounded the anti-Qin horn with great fanfare. At most, it's just a secret plan in the dark. Even so, the Empire still refused to leave them a way to survive. Upon hearing this, the giant spoke slowly. I heard some rumors, but the truth of the news is unknown. It is said that after the rebellion of the Empire's Gainier, he was beheaded by a mysterious army. So far, its corpse capital has not been found. And the reason why Zheng chose to take action against my Mohist school this time is because he suspected that we had an affair with that mysterious army. Or rather, he suspects that the mysterious army is a force cultivated by us anti-Qin individuals. As the giant spoke these words, the leaders of the Mohist school suddenly showed a shocked expression. The descendant of Gigu Zhongheng, has the world's top swordsman died? They haven't heard any news at all. How did Gain die? Thief, she couldn't help but ask. The others also cast curious glances. You should know that those two descendants of Gigu hold a very high weight in the martial arts world. There is even a saying circulating in the martial arts world. Anger makes the lords afraid, but peace brings peace to the world. You're talking about two people from Gigu Zhongheng. But now, the sword Saint Gai Nye has died like this, and it is still the kind without any warning. How can this make them not curious? Killed by the commander of that mysterious army with a single shot. Even before his death, Gain used that sword. but still unable to turn the tide. The giant walked slowly. Shua. The leaders were stunned one by one in their place. His face was full of disbelief. They can't believe it. Because if it really is as the giant said. What level of strength is the leader of that mysterious army? Shoot and kill gain with one shot. They dare not even dream of doing this. Can't even withstand that sword. Gao gradually murmured to himself. Among the commanders, he had only seen Guanyu wield that sword once. It's simply shocking, crying ghosts and gods. Even a sword can open the heavenly gate. A sword can cut off mountains and rivers. Even his wind rustling and water cold is slightly inferior to him. What is the origin of that mysterious army? At this moment, Snow Girl pulled everyone back from shock. After all, the focus is on this mysterious army. So, isn't our Mohist school taking the blame for that mysterious army? The big hammer reacted and said angrily. Their Mohists have no knowledge of any news about that mysterious army. It's even less likely to be related to them. But now, the Empire is pointing its finger at them. This is not a scapegoat, what is it? No. However, the giant shook his head. Refuted the viewpoint of the big hammer. You don't know much about Zheng. Even if there is no such thing as a mysterious army this time. There will also be other things appearing. He won Zheng, but he only used the excuse of a mysterious army to launch an attack on our Mohist school. A speech from the giant. Immediately, everyone was enlightened. Damn the tyrant. One day, I will definitely smash him into flesh with this thunderbolt hammer in my hand. The big hammer roared angrily. Brother Hammer, don't worry yet. Gao gradually comforted. Since the Empire is launching an attack on us this time. Why can't we take advantage of this opportunity to blow the horn against Qin? After speaking, Gao gradually looked towards the giant. What are your plans? Giant question. Gao gently grinned and immediately revealed his plan to everyone. Listen. Imperial Mausoleum. A tomb room. Qin Hall arrived here with a puzzled Zhuge Liang on his face. Lord, what about the surprise you mentioned? Looking at the empty tomb chamber. Zhuge Liang couldn't help but ask. Upon hearing these words, the corner of Qin Palace's mouth slowly rose, revealing a wicked smile. Next up. I saw him stomp his foot suddenly. Let's all come out. Shua. Shua shua. The next moment. Dark ghostly figures emerged from the dark interior of the tomb. Zhuge Liang looked surprised when he saw this scene. What operation is this? How can these zombies appear from the shadows? They are all ghostly corpses that I have refined. Can truly achieve the effect of being like maggots covering the bones, like a shadow accompanying you. As long as there is a dark place, there will be their figures. Listening to the explanation from Qin Hall, Zhuge Liang was even more shocked. Imagine it. If such a large army goes to the battlefield. Undoubtedly, it is the most terrifying. Even able to annihilate the enemy invisibly. Even if there are only 1,000 people, don't we just change the battle situation casually? I don't know how many ghosts and corpses like this have been refined by the Lord in total. Zhuge Liang inquired. Even a glimmer of light could be seen in his hollow eyes. About 500 corpses. Qin Palace responds. It's not that he doesn't want to refine more. But the zombie value is not enough. This ghost attribute is extremely valuable. Nearly 70 zombie points can be exchanged for one ghost attribute. Like a copper armored corpse, it can be exchanged for one zombie value. The cost of a ghostly corpse is 70 times that of a copper armored corpse. So, it depleted all the zombie values in the account. The Qin Palace only managed to refine 500 ghostly corpses. Fortunately, ghosts and zombies have a powerful effect. It's not even comparable to copper armored corpses. Just the effect. He can even surpass all the types of zombies he currently cultivates in one fell swoop. Become the most zombie. With this army, why worry? Zhuge Liang shook his feather fan and nodded. If in a past life. If Shu Han had such a large army. Are you still afraid that you won't be able to capture Chao Wei and Eastern Wu? He Shu Han can fight against these two countries. Give him a crooked head. Starting from today, all the armies in Mount Li will be dispatched by you, Kong Ming, at your discretion. Including these 500 ghostly figures and corpses. Shua. As soon as Qin Hall spoke these words, Zhuge Liang's body couldn't help but tremble. Immediately turned around and bowed to him with both hands. With a splash. I saw Zhuge Liang kneeling down directly. How much trust is there in him to make this move? He dare not even think. Qin Palace looked at Zhuge Liang with a grateful expression on his face. If it were someone else, he wouldn't have done it. But Zhuge Liang is different. He has that ability. Be able to use your army of 100,000 zombies to the extreme. If you still need to use your own brain to command with Wolong. That's just a waste. Is it not good to rely on trusteeship and hang up to win the world? Do you have to find something to do for yourself like Liu Bei? That can only be said that Liu Bei doesn't understand the joy of lying down and winning. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 2 Guanyu, Conquering the Mohist School. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. 2 Guanyu, Conquering the Mohist School Imperial Palace. Qilin Hall. The figure of Prime Minister Li Si quickly walked in from outside the palace. Zheng, who was reviewing the bamboo slips, saw the situation and put down his hand movements. I see your majesty. Li Si bowed with both hands and saluted. What is the latest intelligence? Zheng waved his hand casually and asked. Since he entrusted the entire process of dealing with the Mohist school to Li Si, he has hardly seen him on a daily basis these days. Either busy preparing for the army, or busy contacting and jointly dealing with the martial arts personnel of the Mohist school. After all, besides his empire, the Mohist school still has other enemies in the martial arts world. Everyone knows that the mechanism city is easy to defend but difficult to attack. Li Si is not foolish. He won't let his soldiers serve as cannon fodder. So, the cannon fodder naturally fell on the enemies of the Mohist school in the martial arts world. Your Majesty, we are fully prepared. Now all that remains is your Majesty's command. We can launch a campaign to conquer the Mohist army. Li Si responded. Okay. Zheng stood up directly from the dragon chair. He had sharp eyes and a resolute expression. This time, the Mo family insisted on taking it. Since that's the case. Let's start our journey now. In the end, Zheng issued the order. Yes. I am determined to live up to my fate. Li Si arched his hand and bowed again. Immediately afterwards, he retreated. Looking at Li Si's departing figure. Zhenglong's eyes flickered with a faint radiance. Seems to be thinking about something. On the other side. Since Qin Hall handed over the command of the entire zombie army in Lishan to Zhuge Liang. Zhuge Liang immediately made adjustments to its layout. Like the entrance to Mount Li, he increased his heavy guard, while the exit was correspondingly reduced in personnel. At the same time, he conducted a precise sorting of the internal routes of Lishan. Simultaneously customized policies and strategies. In case of any special circumstances, the zombie army in various parts of Mount Li can provide support as quickly as possible. It has to be said that with Zhuge Liang present, even the Qin Palace sleeps more soundly. But at this moment, General Wu Hu's Ma Chao suddenly arrived at the tomb chamber where the Qin Hall was located. Your Majesty. I just received news that the state of Qin has dispatched a large army to clear and eliminate the Mohists. And the leading figure this time is Prime Minister Li Si. Meanwhile, it is said that the Shadow Guard also participated. Listen to Ma Chao's report. Qin Hall was slightly taken aback. Is my ancestral dragon father so fast that he can't sit still? In 10 years. Even though he has been staying in this imperial tomb. But he has set up many eyeliner in Xianyang city. Any slight disturbance in the Xianyang palace cannot escape his control. Has Dad even sent out shadow guards? He was not surprised to send out Lise. But the shadow guard is Ying Zheng's personal guard team, and their main responsibility is to protecting Zheng's safety. Now, sending out the shadow guard indicates that his father wants to take down the Mo family mechanism city as quickly as possible. But the next moment, the cold electronic sound of the system suddenly sounded. Ding task release. Over the years, the Mohist school has continuously sheltered anti-Qin individuals from all over the world, and now the Mohist government office city has become the largest gathering place for anti-Qin individuals in the world. Please destroy the mechanism city and destroy the Mohist school, host. Task rewards. Black gold heart, blood wing black blade, 9 dragons on, zombie value x 20,000, looking at the latest task. The corner of Qin Palace's mouth slightly rises. To annihilate a Mohist school was as easy as a palm of his hand. My own army of 100,000 zombies, not to mention a small Mohist school, even 100 schools of thought may be able to win 1 or 2. Don't forget, General Wu Hu is not a vegetarian. Moreover, there is Zhuge Kongming, the world's top strategist, sitting at the helm. He can sit firmly on the fishing platform. Think of it here. The Qin Palace quickly summoned the 5 tiger generals. Wait until 5 people gather in one tomb. Qin Hall immediately spoke up and asked, do you have anyone willing to lead the army to destroy that Mo family? Shua. The words have just finished. Without even thinking, Zhao Yun stood up directly. Lord Hui, I am willing. After Zhao Yun finished speaking, the other 4 people also spoke up one after another. Lord, we are all willing. Qin Palace was the first to look at Zhao Yun. It was he who went to suppress Guanyu. So for this operation, Qin Palace has no intention of letting Zhao Yun go again. After all, I am about to pass the level. Naturally, let the subordinates go out for a walk first. Familiarize oneself with the outside world. Then, his gaze swept over the other 4 people one by one. Finally, it stopped on Guanyu, who had a body length of 9 feet, a beard length of 2 feet, red phoenix eyes, and reclining silkworm eyebrows. With the blessing of the corpse, causing Guanyu to be more like a human butcher now. Yun Chang, are you willing to embark on this expedition? Shua. Without saying a word, Guanyu knelt down on one knee. Yun Chang wishes to pour down the Lord's liver on the ground. Very good. Since that's the case, then it's you. Qin Dian nodded in appreciation, expressing great satisfaction. Zhuge Liang slowly shook his white feather fan on the side. There is no worry at all that Guanyu's actions may cause any chaos. Because he has already calculated everything. Guanyu's expedition will surely lead him back in triumph. I am under your command. After speaking, he walked away with dragon and tiger steps. And the following matters. Zhuge Liang will personally tell him. There is no need to worry about winning the Qin Palace. Yin Yang family. Luo Xingtang. Under the call of Emperor Taichi. The elders of various departments are gathered here at this moment. But everyone has doubts. Why call them up at this time? Does anyone know that Your Excellency the Eastern Emperor has summoned us today? What is the matter? Elder Yunzhong Jun Su Fu of the Ministry of Jin slowly walked towards the crowd. He was wearing a pair of wooden clogs and kept making a clattering sound as he stepped on the ground. Due to being immersed in the alchemy room year-round. He is basically indifferent to external affairs. So many things have happened recently. Who knows what happened? De Siming gave a faint glance. The others were also silent. Only the moon god and the star soul. His eyes flickered with strange fluctuations. Su Fu shrugged helplessly upon seeing the situation. It seems that no one knows. Schwa. At this moment, a gust of wind suddenly came from above the lobby. Then, the figure of Emperor Tai appeared there. The empire has already taken action against the Mohists. The government city is in danger. Schwa. The first sentence spoken by Emperor Donghuang shook everyone's hearts. Even though the 6 countries have been unified for so many years, Ying still loves war so much. Su Fu couldn't help but make a joke. Your Excellency, the Empire's attack on the Mohists has nothing to do with us, right? De Siming couldn't help but ask. Upon hearing this, the Eastern Emperor couldn't help but glance at her. Before he could speak, Xinghuan took the initiative to say, "Did you forget? The treasure of my Yin Yang family is still in that mechanism city. That's the key to unlocking the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon, Your Excellency Donghuang." Schwa. As soon as this sentence is spoken, everyone's faces suddenly became solemn. Indeed, a few years ago, a traitor appeared in the Yin Yang family. And the treasure of the Yin Yang family was taken away by this traitor. Finally, it fell into the hands of the Mohist school. His Yin Yang family has never had the opportunity to retrieve it from the Mo family. And now, with the Empire taking action against the Mohists. For them, this is an excellent opportunity. Moon God, immediately lead the 2 young masters to the mechanism city and make sure to bring back the precious treasure. Emperor Tai issued an order. This is also his ultimate goal in summoning everyone this time. The moon god hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. She knew this kind of hard work would fall on her. I have no choice but to grit my teeth and agree. Yes. The moon god responded with a sound. Continuing. Emperor Tai once again warned everyone. During this period, act with caution. He used Yin Yang astrology and divination to calculate that there would be a major event happening in the near future. And it is highly likely to be unknown. Meanwhile, this unknown will continue to revolve around the empire. Their Yin Yang family, if one is not good, will be implicated in it. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Wind and Rain Approaching, Xiaoxiong Weizhuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Wind and Rain Approaching, Xiaoxiong Weizhuang 7 days later. Outside the Mohist Institution City. The Qin Army's base. A tent is stationed here. Looking around, no less than 100. The scene is extremely spectacular. At the same time, in one of the handsome tents. General, everything is fully prepared and ready. I don't know when to launch a charge. A deputy will report in front of Zhang Han. It's not urgent. Zhang Han shook his head. A few days ago, he rushed from Xianyang to here. We have arranged everything according to Lisa's plan. But this charge plan is difficult to implement successfully on a sunny day. So, we must wait until a heavy rain arrives. At that time, it's the perfect time for them to launch a charge. Is the general confident in taking down the Mo school in one fell swoop? The deputy general couldn't help but ask. Are you questioning me? Zhang Han coldly responded. I dare not. The deputy general quickly lowered his head. Afraid of angering the highly respected general in front of me. After all, the other party is the leader of His Majesty the First Emperor's personal guard team. I only have the chance to obey unconditionally. There is no right to refute or question at all. Continuing. Zhang Han then went outside the camp tent. Looking up at the sky. according to the original plan. The next rainstorm will fall in the next 3 days. Of course, provided that no unexpected circumstances occur. I just don't know what's going on with Lord Xianguo's side. Retract his mind, Zhang Han murmured to himself. Flowing Sand Valley. 2 rows of black armored Qin soldiers opened up a road leading to the interior of the valley. Lise got off the carriage. Raise your head and chest, look up. The Flowing Sands Valley is a terrifying place in the martial arts world where people are afraid to face the current sand. And when he came today, he represented the Empire in negotiations with him. Come in, I'll wait for you inside, but at this moment. An extremely enchanting voice emanated from the valley. Upon hearing this, Li Si slowly raised the corner of his mouth. Walk with your hands down towards the valley. Crossing the valley, one enters a dense forest. In the center of the forest, there is an open space. And above the open space, there is a stone pedestal covered with sword marks on it. Sha sha. At this moment, suddenly, a chilling sound came from all around. Lise looked down. I saw dense red snakes crawling out of the forest, converging towards his direction. Upon seeing this, Li Si only furrowed his brow slightly, but still remained calm and composed. Lord Xianguo is really brave. The sound fell. Li Si saw a woman wriggling her waist and slowly walking from a distance. She was even playing with a red refined king snake in her hand. Flowing Sand Red Refining. Li Si spoke in a deep voice. Oh. I didn't expect that Lord Xianguo would even know a young woman. Red Lian felt surprised and dull. Then, she looked towards the distant stone pedestal. I wonder if Lord Xianguo can recognize that one. Upon hearing this, Li Si took the opportunity to look around. At some point, a man with white hair sat on the stone seat. There is an absolute domineering aura emanating from all over my body. Ordinary people are afraid to look at it in the eye and feel fear in their hearts. He is a true hero. The leader of the counter-current sand, Weizhuang. Li spoke calmly. Even if we are facing a guy who is obsessed with murder now, he didn't show any fear either. Because behind him is the largest empire in the world today. As long as you dare to take action against him, it means to be enemies with millions of soldiers in the Great Qin Dynasty. Speak up. What is the purpose of coming today? The Weizhuang on the stone pedestal opened up. The voice is low and gives a sense of calm and calm. The Empire wants to cooperate with Quicksand. Li Si didn't beat around the bush and said directly to the point. Collaboration. Weizhuang couldn't help but sneer. The rest of the Quicksand crowd also showed a puzzled expression. With the financial power of the Qin Empire, the remaining sins of the 6 kingdoms and the 100 schools of thought, who wouldn't be able to handle it casually? How could he be willing to bow down and cooperate with him in Quicksand? It's just a fantasy. Even when it's said, not many people believe it. It is said that Gigu Zhongheng is a lifelong enemy. Now Gai Nye is dead. Don't you want to know who died at Gain's hands? Li Si looked towards Weizhuang. A confident demeanor. Obviously, I came prepared. As expected. After hearing these words in Weizhuang, his eyebrows couldn't help but furrow slightly. A strange wave flashed through his sharp eyes. According to the regulations passed down by the Ghost Valley sect, throughout history, Zhongheng could only survive one person. And the person who survived is the new generation of Geguzi. Now the sudden death of Gain. It represents that his Weizhuang has become a descendant of the Ghost Valley sect. But for Weizhuang, who has a strong sense of self-esteem, he doesn't want this kind of cheap food. It's like insulting him. What he wants is a dignified duel. Even if he died in battle, he was willing to do so. Are you so confident that I will cooperate with you? Weizhuang looked at Li Si, who was full of confidence, and couldn't help but ask. Drifting sand can be refused. But you, Weizhuang, have no reason to refuse. Li Si smiled. Upon hearing this, Weizhuang showed a hint of interest. He raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a wicked smile. Interesting. End of this chapter.